The Starship Dominator dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system with the grace of a predator stalking prey. Its crystalline hull reflected the distant sun's light in prismatic patterns that would have been beautiful if not for the weapons arrays bristling along its surface. Admiral Vex stood on the bridge, his silicon-based form towering 9 feet tall. His body resembled living glass, with internal light pulsing through transparent veins. He studied the blue-green planet on the main display with what passed for disgust among his species. "Look at it," he said to his second-in-command, Rex. "Covered in organic filth. Water everywhere. The readings show billions of carbon-based life forms crawling across its surface like bacteria." Rex nodded, his crystalline head catching the bridge lights. "The Kralin Empire has conquered many worlds, Admiral, but few this ... wet. Our scouts report they call themselves humans. They are made of meat and water. Sir, actual meat that rots and decays." "Disgusting," Vex replied. He had conquered 17 systems for the Empire, each one adding to their collection of slave races and resources. This would be the 18th. What are their defenses? Primitive, Admiral. No energy shields, no plasma cannons. They have split the atom, but barely. Their ships cannot even leave their own system properly. They still burn chemical fuel. Rex pulled up tactical displays. They have weapons that throw metal projectiles and some nuclear devices. Nothing that could scratch the Dominator's hull. Vex made a sound like grinding glass, laughter among his kind. "Then this will be simple. Open a channel to the entire planet. Let these humans know their fate." The communication systems of Earth lit up simultaneously. Every television, radio, computer, and phone received the same message. The image of Admiral Vex appeared, his translucent form alien and terrifying to human eyes. "Creatures of Earth," Vex began, his voice translated into every Earth language by the ship's systems. "I am Admiral Vex of the Kralin Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. You have 1 rotation of your world, 24 of your hours. 2. Surrender unconditionally. Those who submit will be allowed to serve the Empire. Those who resist will be eliminated. You cannot fight us. You cannot defeat us. We are your superiors in every way." The transmission ended, leaving 7 billion humans in various states of shock, fear, and anger in the underground bunker that served as Earth Defense Force headquarters. Captain Jake Miller stared at the blank screen where the alien message had been. Around him, his staff worked frantically, trying to establish contact with the alien vessel. "Sir, we have a connection," Lieutenant Amy reported from her station. "Put it through," Jake ordered, straightening his uniform. The screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Vex on his bridge. "Admiral Vex," Jake began, keeping his voice steady. "I am Captain Miller of Earth Defense Force. We received your message. Surely we can discuss this. Humanity has always believed in diplomacy and peaceful solutions. We have much to offer through trade and cultural exchange." Vex studied the human on his screen. The creature was so small, so soft. Its skin was covering in tiny drops of moisture, sweat, the computer informed. Him, the very idea of liquid leaking from one's body, made Vex feel ill. "You wish to negotiate, Dirtling?" Vex used the term his scouts had developed for these creatures, beings made of dirt and water, held together by nothing but chemical reactions. "What could you possibly offer the Kralin Empire? You live in your own waste. You breathe gases that rust metal. You are composed of organic matter that begins rotting the moment you are born." Behind Jake, his team bristled at the insults, but he held up a hand for silence. "We offer friendship, Admiral. Our history, our art, our music. We have survived on this world for hundreds of thousands of years. Surely that experience has value?" Rex leaned toward his admiral. They think their primitive culture has worth. How amusing. Vex nodded. Captain Miller of the Dirtlings, you misunderstand. We do not want your friendship. We want your obedience. Your planet has resources we can use. Once we remove the organic contamination covering it, some of you may be kept as laborers if you prove useful. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification of your conquest. The screen went dark. Jake turned to his team. Get me the president. Get me the UN Security Council. Get me everyone. He paused, looking at the worried faces around him. And somebody find me Dr. Smith from the Biological Warfare Division. If these things think we're dirty, maybe it's time we showed them just how dirty we can be. Asterisk, the drop pods fell from the sky like metallic rain. Each one contained a squad of Kralin warriors, their crystalline bodies protected by powered armor that made them nearly invincible to human weapons. They landed in New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, every major city on Earth. The initial battles went exactly as Admiral Vex had predicted. Human tanks fired shells that shattered harmlessly against Kralin shields. Fighter jets launched missiles that the aliens swatted aside with energy beams. In Paris, an entire army battalion was vaporized in minutes by a single Kralin squad. But then strange things began to happen. In rural Kansas, a farmer named Tom watched a Kralin patrol marching through his wheat field. The aliens moved in perfect formation, their armor gleaming in the afternoon sun. Tom didn't have military weapons. What he had was a barn full of fertilizer and a lifetime of making things work with whatever was handy. The explosion that destroyed. The patrol could be heard 3 counties away. The Kralins hadn't expected civilians to fight back, especially not with improvised weapons made from farming supplies. Their armor was designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, not crude. Chemical explosions mixed with manure. Admiral Vex received the report on his bridge. Fertilizer? He asked, his voice carrying disbelief. They killed a patrol with waste products? Yes, Admiral, Rex confirmed. The humans appear to be using their own biological waste as weapons. It's unprecedented. In London's sewers, Lieutenant Amy led a group of 30 resistance fighters. The tunnels were dark, wet, and filled with human waste. It was the last place the Kralins would look. Their species had evolved on a sterile crystal world where contamination meant death. The very thought of entering such a place made them physically ill. They won't follow us down here, Amy told her group. Look at them. They're like living glass, clean, pure, perfect. And we're the opposite, so let's use that. Her fighters began launching attacks from sewer grates, throwing bottles filled with sewage at Kralin positions. The aliens' shields stopped the bottles, but not the splashing liquid. When it touched their armor, the Kralins reacted with revulsion, some actually retreating rather than risk contamination. In Tokyo, something even stranger was happening. A Kralin warrior had cornered a group of office workers in a restaurant. As he prepared to fire, one of the workers, a man named Ken, did something the alien couldn't understand. He continued eating his lunch. The Kralin paused. This human was about to die, and he was consuming food? The warrior's scanner showed. The human's body converting organic matter into energy through a process of controlled decomposition. It was revolting. You eat while facing death? The Kralin asked through his translator. Ken shrugged. I'm hungry. Besides, if I'm going to die, might as well die on a full stomach. The casual acceptance of mortality, the ability to function while literally digesting rotting organic matter. It disturbed the Kralin more than any weapon could have. He hesitated just long enough for Ken to throw his bowl of miso soup at the alien's faceplate. The fermented soybean paste began eating through the seals. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Humans slept in dirt and woke up fighting. They had bacteria living in their bodies that would kill a Kralin in hours. They healed from injuries by growing new flesh, a process the crystalline aliens found both fascinating and horrifying. Dr. Smith stood before the emergency council, his presentation showing microscopic images. The Kralins are silicon-based. Life forms from a sterile environment. Our planet is basically poison to them. Every breath they take outside their armor contains billions of microorganisms. Pollen, spores, bacteria. It's all deadly to them. So we're fighting aliens who are allergic to Earth? The president asked. More than allergic, Smith replied. They're vulnerable to our entire biosphere. They see us as dirty primitives, but that dirt is our greatest weapon. On the Dominator, Admiral Vex reviewed the casualty reports with growing concern. They had expected some losses, but not like this. His warriors were falling ill just from being on the planet's surface. Some had removed their helmets for just moments and were now dying from fungal infections. Admiral, Rex reported, the humans are deliberately contaminating our drop zones. They're spreading biological matter everywhere. Plant matter, animal waste, even their own blood. Our shields can't stop microscopic organisms. Vex stared at the blue planet below. How could such primitive creatures be causing so much trouble? They had no advanced technology, no energy weapons, no faster-than-light travel. All they had was dirt, water, and an ability to survive in conditions that would kill any civilized species. Double the armor seals, he ordered, and prepare the sterilization bombs. If we cannot take this world clean, we'll burn the contamination away. But even as he gave the order, Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in 17 conquests. Uncertainty. The Kralin scout ship crashed in the Nevada desert after a lucky hit from a surface-to-air missile. The pilot, Officer Zek, survived the impact but found himself surrounded by Marines, led by Sergeant Bob. The humans approached carefully, their weapons trained on the alien, who stood 7 feet tall, despite being considered small for his species. Don't move. Bob shouted, though. He wasn't sure if the alien understood. Zek's translator kicked in. I am Officer Zek of the Kralin Empire. By galactic law, I demand proper treatment as a prisoner of war. Galactic law? Bob almost laughed. You just invaded our planet without warning. But sure, we'll treat you properly. Medical team, check. Him out. What happened next horrified Zek more than capture. The human medics approached with scanners covered in fingerprints, tools that had touched multiple organic beings, and worst of all, they wanted to touch him with their contaminated hands. Stay back, Zek scrambled away. Your medical practices are biological warfare. Dr. Smith arrived within hours, fascinated by their first living Kralin prisoner. Zek was kept in a sealed, clean room, the only environment where he could remove his armor safely. Tell me about your world, Smith said through the intercom. Zek, seeing no harm in the information, began to speak. Kralos is perfect. Crystal spires reaching into space. No organic contamination. No decay. We live for thousands of your years because we don't rot like you Dirtlings. Dirtlings, Smith repeated. You keep using that word. Why? Look at yourselves. Zek said with disgust. You're made of carbon and water. You're literally animated dirt. Your bodies are home to trillions of bacteria. You decay while still alive. How can you stand it? Smith smiled. We don't just stand it, we depend on it. Those bacteria help us digest food, fight diseases, and maintain our health. We're not individuals. We're walking ecosystems. This revelation made Zek step back. You're telling me you deliberately cultivate contamination. We call it symbiosis, Smith explained. Now tell me, why are your people really here? Through hours of questioning, Smith learned the truth. The Kralin Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they were running out of sterile planets. Most of the galaxy was contaminated with carbon-based life. Earth was meant to be cleaned and converted into another crystal world. Meanwhile, in a basement in Seattle, a young hacker named Lisa worked on a captured Kralin communication device. Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she broke through encryption that should have been impossible for human technology to crack. "Got it!" she shouted to her team. She was streaming the Kralin battle network to resistance cells worldwide. The intercepted communications revealed everything. The Kralins were struggling. Their food synthesizers couldn't process Earth materials. Their water purifiers broke down from the sheer amount of microorganisms. They were slowly starving and dehydrating on a planet covered in food and water they couldn't use. "Listen to this," Lisa said, playing a transmission. It was Admiral Vex reporting to the Empire. "The Dirtlings have proven more resilient than expected. They thrive in conditions that are toxic to our forces. They use biological weapons without hesitation, requesting immediate resupply of purified water and sterile rations." The response was not what Vex had hoped for. "Negative, Admiral. You have sufficient supplies for standard conquest timeline. Complete the mission." General White stood before a map of Kralin positions, surrounded by his staff. "They can't eat our food, can't drink our water, can't breathe our air without filters. Soldiers, we've been fighting this all wrong. We don't need to beat their technology. We need to outlast it." "Operation Mud is a go," he announced. "Every resistance cell, every military unit, every civilian, we're going to make this planet so biologically active that they can't function." Crop dusters were loaded with pollen and spores. Water balloons filled with pond water became weapons. Children were given squirt guns filled with compost tea. It sounded insane, but it was working. The Kralins retreated to sealed bases, but humans were clever. They pumped spores through ventilation systems. They contaminated water supplies with algae. They even used catapults to launch beehives over fortress walls. Officer Zek watched the news from his clean room prison, amazed. "You're using your entire biosphere as a weapon. No species has ever done this." Dr. Smith nodded. "That's because no species has ever been as integrated with their environment as we are. You see dirt and contamination. We see home." "But you could have developed clean technology," Zek protested. "You could have evolved beyond organic matter." "Why would we want to?" Smith asked. "We love our world. The smell of rain, the taste of fresh fruit, the feeling of soil between our fingers. You might live for thousands of years in your sterile crystal cities, but do you really live?" Zek had no answer. His species had spent millions of years eliminating every trace of organic life from their world. They had achieved perfection, or so they thought. Now, facing these chaotic, dirty, impossibly resilient humans, he began to wonder if they had eliminated something essential. A message came through the intercom. "Doctor, you need to see this. The Kralins are pulling back to their ships." "All of them?" Smith looked at Zek. "Seems like your admiral is changing tactics." Zek's transparent face showed what might have been fear. "If they're retreating to the ships, they're preparing for orbital bombardment. They're going to sterilize your world from space." Smith grabbed his communicator. "General White, we have a problem." Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of the Dominator, his crystalline form pulsing with frustrated energy. Below him, Earth continued to spin, blue and green and alive with contamination. His request for reinforcements had been denied. The Empire wouldn't risk more ships on what should have been a simple conquest. "Sir," Rex reported, "all ground forces have returned to the fleet. Casualties at 40%. Another 20% are sick with various biological infections." 40%? Vex's voice cracked like breaking glass. "We've conquered entire systems with less than 5% losses. The Dirtlings are unusual, Admiral. They've turned their entire ecosystem into a weapon. Our warriors report that human children, their younglings, attack with water guns filled with bacteria. It's unprecedented. Vex turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the sterilization bombs. We'll burn their atmosphere and start fresh. But down on Earth, humans weren't. Waiting for death from above. Engineer Dave worked in a captured Kralin facility, surrounded by alien technology. His team had been reverse engineering everything they could find. The Kralin's technology was incredibly advanced, but it had a weakness. It was too clean. Look at this, Dave said to his assistant. Their circuits are perfect crystals. No impurities. No contamination. But you know what happens when you introduce impurities to a crystal? He dropped a single grain of salt into a Kralin power core. The reaction was immediate. The crystal cracked, energy dispersing in wild patterns. Their entire technology is based on purity, Dave explained. So what if we made it dirty? Within hours, Dave's discovery spread to resistant cells worldwide. Humans began creating hybrid weapons, Kralin technology infected with Earth materials, energy weapons that fired mud instead of plasma, shield generators that projected fields of pollen. It was insane, impossible, and it worked. In Beijing, children playing in a park made an accidental discovery. They were mixing mud and water, making patterns in the dirt, when their play caused interference on every Kralin communication device in the city. Lisa the hacker investigated immediately. The Kralins communicate through crystalline harmonics. Basically, they sing to their technology. But specific mixtures of earth minerals create frequencies that jam their signals. She broadcasted the formula globally. Within hours, every human settlement was mixing dirt, water, and minerals to create interference fields. The Kralin's perfect communication network became chaos. Colonel Black prepared for humanity's counterattack. His soldiers looked nothing like a traditional army. They were covered head to toe in mud, carrying weapons cobbled together from human and alien technology. And each one had pouches full of Earth's deadliest weapon, soil rich with microorganisms. Remember, Black told his troops, we're not trying to match their technology. We're trying to break it. Stay dirty, stay alive. The assault on the main Kralin base was unlike any battle in human history. Soldiers invisible to alien sensors because they were covered in organic matter. Weapons that shot spores that ate through sealed doors. Tanks that sprayed ocean water like deadly acid against creatures who had never evolved to handle salt. A most decisive moment came from an unexpected source. Pilot Jane flew a cargo plane loaded with 20 tons of ocean water. Her mission was supposed to be reconnaissance, but when she saw the Dominator hovering in low orbit, preparing its weapons, she made a choice. This is probably going to kill me, she said into her radio. But if it saves Earth, it's worth it. She flew straight up, higher than the plane was designed to go. The engine screamed. Ice formed on the wings. Her nose began to bleed from the pressure, but she kept climbing until she reached the Dominator's atmospheric intake vents, the massive systems that filtered air for the ship's life support. The crash ruptured her cargo hold, sending tons of ocean water full of salt, algae, plankton, and countless microorganisms directly into the ship's air system. On the bridge, alarm screamed. Rex stumbled, his crystalline form already showing. Stress fractures from contamination. Admiral, the air system is compromised. Biological contamination spreading through all decks. Vex watched his perfect ship begin to die. Coral began growing on the walls. Algae spread across control panels. His crew fell sick one by one as Earth's life found its way into their bodies. Impossible, Vex whispered. We are the Kralin Empire. We have conquered galaxies. No, said a human voice over the communication system. It was General White. You conquered sterile rocks. You never conquered a living world, and you sure as hell never conquered Earth. The proud Kralin warriors, who had never known defeat, began dying from common Earth colds. Fungal infections spread through their ranks. The ship's biofilters, designed to keep out contamination, couldn't handle the sheer volume of Earth's microscopic life. Admiral Vex looked at his dying crew, his failing ship, and made a decision that went against everything he had ever believed. "General White," he transmitted, his voice weak, "I request ... negotiation." The humans had done the impossible. They had brought the mighty Kralin Empire to its knees, not with advanced weapons or superior technology, but with pond water and mud. The Dirtlings had won. Admiral Vex sat in the contaminated conference room of his dying ship, his once perfect crystalline form now clouded with microfractures. Across from him, Captain Miller and Ambassador Wilson represented Earth. They had come aboard wearing simple hazmat suits, carrying tanks of Earth air on their backs. "You're dying," Wilson observed, not unkindly. "Your planet is killing us," Vex admitted, each word seeming to cause him pain. "In 17 conquests, I have never encountered anything like your world. You weaponized life itself." "We didn't weaponize it," Miller corrected. "We just used what we've always had. You see contamination. We see a thriving ecosystem that we're part of." Vex struggled to understand. "But you could have evolved beyond this. Clean energy, sterile environments, perfect crystalline bodies like ours." Wilson leaned forward. "Admiral, may I ask you something? When was the last time your species created something new? Not conquered, not claimed, but actually created?" The question seemed to confuse Vex. "We achieved perfection millions of years ago. There was no need to create." "And that's where we differ," Wilson said. "Humans are messy, chaotic, constantly changing. We make mistakes, we die young, but we create. Art, music, stories, new ideas every generation. Our imperfection drives us forward." Rex entered the room, barely able to maintain his form. "Admiral, the crew is requesting permission to return to Kralin space immediately. If we stay, none will survive." Vex looked at the humans. "What are your terms?" Wilson pulled out a simple paper document, itself a biological weapon to the Kralins. "Complete withdrawal from Earth space. No return, ever. In exchange, we'll provide you with medical assistance to help your sick and let you leave peacefully." "Medical assistance?" Rex was shocked. "You would help us after we tried to destroy you?" Miller nodded. "That's what humans do. We can be brutal when threatened, but we also have compassion, even for those who tried to hurt us." Dr. Smith entered, with a team, carrying sealed containers. "We've developed filters that should help your crew survive long enough to get home. They're made from Earth materials, so they'll eventually break down, but they'll buy you time." Vex stared at these creatures he had called primitive. They had defeated his superior forces, brought down his mighty ship, and now they offered mercy. "I don't understand you, Dirtlings." "The term is humans," Wilson corrected gently. "And understanding takes time. That's why we're also offering this, a warning to take back to your empire." She activated a hologram, showing Earth from space. "Tell them that Earth is a death world. Tell them that water falls from our sky, that billions of organisms live in. Every handful of soil, that our bodies are walking ecosystems. Tell them we eat other living things. We sleep in rooms full of microscopic life, and we thrive in chaos." The hologram shifted, showing humans in various activities. Children playing in mud, farmers working soil, people swimming in oceans full of life. "Tell them," Wilson continued, "that we are not conquerors like you. We don't want your worlds. But if anyone comes to take ours, they'll face 7 billion humans who call this chaotic, dirty, beautiful world home." Vex signed the treaty with a shaking hand, a paper already beginning to break down his crystalline fingers. As the Krallans prepared to leave, Officer Zek was returned from his captivity. He had spent weeks talking with Dr. Smith, learning about humanity. "Admiral," Zek said as they boarded their contaminated ship, "I believe I understand now. The humans aren't inferior. They're adapted to chaos. While we achieved perfection and stagnation, they achieved something else, resilience." As the Krallan fleet limped away from Earth, Vex sent a final message to the Empire. "Quarantine the third planet of System Sol, designated Black Level Forbiddens. The Dirtlings ... the humans ... They are not prey. They are something far more. Dangerous survivors." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The mighty Krallan Empire, conquerors of hundreds of worlds, had been defeated by a species that didn't even have faster-than-light travel. But the details were what truly terrified other potential invaders. The humans hadn't used superweapons or ancient technology. They had thrown mud. They had used children with water guns. They had turned their own planet's biosphere into a weapon. They were, in galactic terms, completely insane. On Earth, life returned to normal remarkably quickly. Children went back to playing in parks, making mud pies, and getting dirty. Farmers returned to their fields. Scientists studied the captured Krallan technology, but found most of it useless. It required sterile conditions that Earth could never provide. Lisa published her experience hacking Krallan systems, noting, "Their technology was perfect, but perfection is fragile. One grain of sand, one drop of water, and their whole system crashed. Humans build things to survive disasters. We assume things will break and plan for it." General White retired, but not before giving a final interview. "People ask me how we won. The answer is simple. We're human. We're the species that looked at wolves and said, 'Let's be friends.' We're the ones who ferment poison into drinks. We swim in water full of things that could kill us. We're not the strongest or the smartest, but we're definitely the most stubborn." Years later, alien observers would occasionally approach Earth space, scanning from a safe distance. They watched. Humans continue their chaotic existence. Wars and peace, creation and destruction, always changing, always adapting. The observers would record their findings and flee. The word spread through civilized space. Avoid the Dirtlings. They had turned the ultimate weakness, biological fragility, into the ultimate weapon. They were chaos incarnate, disorder given form, and they loved every minute of it. And in playgrounds across Earth, children continued to play in the mud, building castles from dirt and water, never knowing they were practicing the art of war that had saved their world. They were humans. They were Dirtlings. And they were magnificent in their imperfection. Asterisk.